Hello everyone. I know it's been a while. Been wanting to make more content, but things have been getting a little crazy, little hectic in terms of my schedule lately. But I know I've been wanting to do at least like an in-depth, closer review of some of my personal arms, and maybe in the future I could do something about various other firearms to review. But for now, I guess we'll just start with my own collection here. If you've seen any of my most recent previous video, I started out with this. This is my Vepr 7.62 by 54R. I just call it my Vepr 54R for brevity's sake. Because I don't think it has an official designation, but I call it the cheap man's SVD, because it's as close as you're gonna get. Also, forgive the charging cord. My camera slash phone was about to die, but yeah, you use what you got, right? Anyway, I'm trying to turn this into a bit of a segment. So this is Mr. J's gun review. Super special effects, I know, right? Anyway, so let's take a closer look here. As I had previously mentioned, this is an AK platform, chambered in 7.62 by 54R. Make a hole in my wall, that'd be great. And this is the other side. Should get a little better lighting on here. I know it's kind of cruddy, but maybe that'll help a little bit. Okay, and I have a 4x Piliad Patriot optic, and everything, as far as I could tell, I tried to make this as legitimately Russian as possible. The only thing that's not Russian, I believe, are the handguard here, which that is by sorry, I'm a little tired, so I'm brain farting kind of hard right here. Krebs Custom. Krebs Custom makes this handguard, and I really like it because free floated handguards for AKs are not easy to come by. I know this is semi free floated because there is one band like right here or something, but aside from that, there's very little actually touching the barrel, you know. And for those of you who know about barrel harmonics, you generally want the barrel as unobstructed as possible, based on what I know about it, at least. And also the muzzle brake. That's actually a Century Arms muzzle brake, because it's kind of the only one I had. This came with a thread blocker thing, a thread protector that was welded on. So I had to go ahead, cut that off, and the detent wouldn't come out for like several months, and then eventually, on its own, it just popped out. I've heard that the detents on these AKs were installed upside down at the factory. Whether intentionally or not, I don't know. But I tell you, I tried everything I could to try and fix it myself. Tried to get these punches out, but man, those things are in there. You can't, you need a pin press or something to get these pins out, because it was a nightmare. But either way, it resolved itself in the end, as you could see. Fully functional detent, so that's good. Alright, oh yeah, and also, okay, so everything on the front end pretty much is US made, except for the barrel. And everything in the back end is Russian made. Even this stock, which, there's a good story about this. Those of you who recognize this, there's a story behind this little bugger right here. Might as well start with that actually. This is a Black Horse Arsenal stock, and those of you in the gun community may have heard of Black Horse Arsenal and may have heard of their reputation. I didn't hear about their reputation until after I put my order in. Mind you, obviously this was during some of their last few days while they were still in business. But irregardless of their business reputation, the product they made is quite good, or quite nice in my opinion. It not only adds aesthetic pleasures to it, but it also functions quite nicely as a DMR stock. As you can tell, this is for the most part a DMR build. But the reputation with these stocks was people weren't apparently getting their orders, or they were getting them extremely late. And when I had put my order in, ultimately the same thing kind of happened. Like a few weeks went by and I was starting to get concerned. I never got ornery with them or anything like that, you know. I was pretty level-headed about it. I was just like, hey, I'm just curious what's going on with it, and you know, they got back to me. They basically said the same thing, you know. Oh, we'll get it out to you, and they wanted me to buy the handguard. That I think they were like almost eagerly trying to get me to buy the handguard set, because this sold with a set of a handguard and the stock. And admittedly, I did kind of want the handguard, but with the handguard I ended up with, I'm glad I didn't. But yeah, I ended up having to wait longer than I should. Trying to remember how long. I think it was like 3-4 weeks, maybe longer. I don't know. It was a very long time ago. But I managed to get one of these before they went out of business. You know, despite their business practices, the product itself is, in my opinion, quite desirable. You'd be hard pressed to find anything like this in the United States, as this was also made in Russia. I believe these actually came off of SVD, or I don't know if they came off of SVDs, but they were made for SVDs originally, and then they kind of made like the angle slot, because a lot of these Vepers have like an angle cut. Later models have a straight cut, but this is obviously an earlier model. So they cut them down so that they'd fit these Vepers, and you know, honestly, conceptually, that's a really cool business idea. Just how they executed it ended up, I feel like, was the straw that broke the camel's back in regards to that, but who knows really, right? It's more of an insider issue than anything else. But that's the Black Horse Arsenal stock. It's really nice. It's some kind of metal, maybe aluminum, I'm not sure. Bottom is a fairly sturdy polymer, and I actually modified it too a little bit. You can see this has like a little bit of a like some kind of a I'm not actually sure what it was. I just found it at my work. I was at work the other day, and there was this whole sheet of this spongy like material, so I was like, you know, that would be really good. I just super glued it to the back of this thing, and it works. I trim the corners to make it a little aesthetically more pleasing, but you know, ultimately it does the job. I had a buddy run it with this thing on, and he was like, this is really nice with that pad on, because yeah, this is slinging 54R. This isn't some sub caliber, you know. It's a full caliber round for sure. So it's going to pack a little bit of punch. And speaking of which, going back to the muzzle, one thing why kind of this is on is because normally that suppressor you see in the back, which is why I brought it out here. I just didn't want to change the thread pitch, because changing the thread pitch on those things are kind of a pain in the ass. So I just wanted to bring out, just for the sake of showing it, that that's what normally would go on here, because This is, God, I'm forgetting the AK thread pitch. I think it's 14 left hand, I believe, and those Serbian M92s are 26 left hand. So the diameter is like more than 2 times the size of this one. So if I wanted to switch them out, I have to change the thread adapter. Unfortunately, it's not the quickest change, but I mean it is kind of, the suppressor is modeled around the old PBS1 model. So I mean they did what they could, and it's still cool. I'm not complaining. I fucking love my dead air. I just do wish the thread pitch was a little easier to change, but you know, you do what you can. I'm not complaining. So that's what normally would go on here, is that suppressor, but this is kind of my home defense in a sense. So this I prefer to have more suppressor ready than this one in the immediate sense. But I digress. So I'll get to that in a little bit. Now that we've focused on the barrel, the butt, let's take a look at this optic real quick. It's pretty on there. The latching device is pretty good. You do have to it's a bit of a learning curve because it's not just like a Picatinny rail or anything like that. It's not like an M-lock. You really gotta kind of screw it in, like in almost, not really. It's a clamp, but you have to like tighten the clamp so that this little thing here, which these are apparently not perfectly concentric. Like you'll see all different kinds of optic mounts on AK, side optic mounts like this, and some are more difficult than others in my experience. This one, while sturdy, can be a bit of a pain itself, but it works, and it does hold zero. So there's that. This is my optic. This is the Patriot K59, made in Russia, and it's only a 4x optic. Let me see if I don't think it'll show, but it also has an illuminated reticle, which the battery is currently dead because I forgot to turn it off one day. I don't think it's gonna show. God damn it. I can't do it. My phone's too blurry. But I went with the PSO1 style reticle because I wanted to keep this as true to a quote unquote SVD as possible. More or less, I was trying to keep this more legitimately Russian as possible because back before these Vepers kind of really took off, really gained some popularity, finding Russian-made AKs was no easy task. Because of the import bans with Russia and everything like that. So anything with "made in Russia" on it was, as far as I was aware, pretty hard to get. So I wanted to go with the original one, and I know I probably should have gone with a stronger optic than 4x, but apparently that was like the standard for SVDs was 4x. I don't know. But I do want to get a stronger one. I do like it. It's the Piliad. Sorry, the focus is kind of bad. Yeah, PX3MC. Probably is no vortex. It's probably nothing like that. But it's good, and it does the job. It gets the job done, and it holds zero, and it does add to the kind of Russian legitimacy theme I'm going with here. I don't know. I'm Russian too, so I have some heritage in that. But and yeah, this is the bipod, which nothing really too special about that, but it is foldable, and I realize Picatinny mount isn't the best. I want to get a Harris. This has a Harris adapter. I can make this a Harris style bipod. It's not Harris by brand, but it does have a Harris adapter. I just have not, for the life of me, been able to find a key mod Harris adapter. I'm sure there's a Picatinny Harris adapter, but as far as I'm aware, I have not seen anything on the market, or if I have, it's either out of sale, been out of sale for a while, or no one's making it anymore. You know, it's a downside to using kind of outdated models. You know, how no one's using key mod anymore. Blah blah blah. I get it. You know, M-Lock's about a million times more convenient, but I still love this handguard. Turning it around. A second here, it's kind of a big girl. Actually, no, we'll take the optic off so we can open her up. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is kind of the more business side of things. Here we have the action. Does not lock open, but that's not uncommon with AKs. But not all of them. In a future video, I do have an AK that does lock open, but we'll save that for future content. It does have this really cool dust cover that I really like. It adds one more moving part, sure, and as we all know, moving parts means higher probability of failure, but this isn't going to cause much of any problems. Safety switch, and it doesn't have that little notch here, but again, I do have another one that does, where you could kind of just swipe it with one finger or a thumb or whatever. Fortunately, that's not this model. But let's go ahead and open her up and do this one-handed. Oh yeah, and that's another thing. The detent here for the dust cover is actually a little unique, and in it that it has these little risers, these little lifts, whatever you call them. It's because these dust covers apparently have a habit of popping off from time to time. So some genius some genius Slav out there was like, well, what if we just put little bits of metal? That'll stop it. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. It's a minor detail, and I've never had a dust cover blow off on me, but should that ever be a concern, it has a little extra safety feature to keep that from happening, so I like that. Harder than usual because of that thing. Here's the dust cover, nothing too special, some wear marks. Spring, and quite a beefy one, might I add you. Might be hard to tell on the camera, but can you tell how thick this spring is? Like, if you know what a normal AK spring looks like, this is a beefy boy. Am I right? And of course the dust cover stays attached. Can be taken off right there if you want to, but you know, it's not really much reason to do that. But might as well go into every detail, right? And here is the bolt. Chunky old bolt, greasy as hell. That's a good thing. And internals, everything's basically the same. And then, those of you may be wondering, well, how do you clean the gas tube with that handguard? Well, I don't really want to go all the way, take it completely apart, because this thing's a little bit of a pain in the ass to put back on. But you pinch these two bits of the handguard, and then this lifts off, and then you could pull the tube out like normal. So, yeah. And of course the magazine well, right there. Right now I only have 5 rounders. Because when this came out, when I bought this, there was like, I don't know, some aftermarket company was the only one making like Vepr mags in extended ranges. They make them for like the Vepr 12 and all this. It's like, the name's on the tip of my head. It'll come to me, but it was like this kind of cheaply made polymer 10 round mag was the only alternative to the 5 rounders that this came with. And while I'm sure it would work, I wanted something that would kind of stand the test of time, you know. I felt like those weren't really going to do it, although I'm still kind of regretting not picking one up. Either way, apparently there have been new mags. I'm not sure if they're aluminum or if they're steel. The ones I've seen look more sturdier than just polymer mags, so I'm definitely going to have to try and find one of those. I think it was was it magazinewarehouse.com? Like, I can't even, I don't remember any of this stuff right now. I'm sorry, all the websites and stuff. Haven't ordered anything online aside from ammunition. So, and I go to Lucky Gunner, by the way, for my ammo. I don't know about any of you, but I personally, I think their prices are fair, and I like how much they work with the customer. You know, they're pretty cool in that. They actually managed to get me a surplus tin of 54R for this one here, which for the longest time surplus tins were collector's items more than anything because of the whole import ban. But I guess we're getting more of those tins in from other Eastern European countries. So, although I think it said made in Russia, I don't know. Anyway, point is, somehow we're getting more of those 54s back in the large tins, and I wanted to make a shout out to Lucky Gunner. Thank you for helping me feed this beast. Let's go ahead and throw her back together. There we go. Watch me fidget this with one hand. Alright, guys. Anyway, I'm not gonna fidget this with one hand. That's pretty much the gist of this. Is it's kind of like a poor man's SVD, or even you could argue a poor man's PSL. PSL is more similar, I get it, but I like to pretend it's SVD. Yeah, I'm gonna stop fucking with that. But anyway, that is my Vepr 7.62 by 54R, or also known as my Vepr 54R, or also known as my poor man's SVD. More content to come, more reviews to come. I'm sorry I've been late on the filming, been dealing with quite a lot lately, but, you know, trying to make the time. I was gonna review this one, but this review is already kind of taking longer than I thought. So we'll review this one next time. Honestly, there's not a whole lot different, but I guess there's a bit of a different backstory to that one, so it's still interesting, you know. I just don't want to make this too long. And I'll also try to do some little history research regarding these guns so I could be a little more informative rather than just showing you the obvious bits that I'm sure most of you already know about. But yeah, this has been my hold on. This has been my gun review. Let me just get my Mr. J's gun review with totally top-notch special effects. I hope you all have a good day. Stay safe.